What is up, FA Nation? This is Kevin Tompkins here, back with another edition of the Target Report Bullet Points heading into week 6 of the NFL season. We've already gone through 5 weeks, giving you the most actionable information for you to bring to your fantasy football leagues this season. And it's going to be no different this week with a lot of bye weeks, with a lot of injuries, with a lot of role changes. We're going to be bringing that information over to you to help you dominate your fantasy football leagues in 2023. Of course, if you like what we're doing, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. Of course, the full Target Report will be out in week 6 on Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. Without further ado, let's get right into the most actionable information to bring to your fantasy football leagues as we head into week 6. So if you go all the way back to the first Target Report video after week 1, we talked about Puka, Nacua, and Tutu Atwell doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this LA Rams offense with Kupp off the field. Nacua and Atwell certainly have, and then some. All Nacua has done is led the NFL in targets and receptions in weeks 1 through 4, is second in receiving yards behind Justin Jefferson, and has put up a 33% target share. Atwell has also been excellent to his credit as fantasy's wide receiver 24, with almost 9 targets per game, 5.5 receptions per game, 63 receiving yards per game, and has run the most raw routes of any player in the NFL through 4 weeks. Enter Kupp in week 5. How will these players coexist? Well, Kupp earned 12 targets with an 8-catch, 118-yard line on 97% of routes, with seemingly no rust whatsoever. Puka Nacua ran 100% of routes, earned 11 targets, put up a 7 for 71 line with a touchdown. Tutu Atwell ran routes on 95% of Matthew Stafford's dropbacks with 5 targets, just 2 catches for 9 yards, but caught a touchdown to salvage his day. Van Jefferson played just 2 snaps in week 5, ran 1 route all game, and now he's been traded to the Atlanta Falcons. We know how this is going to shake out now with Kupp and Nacua as the main target earners, and Atwell being a more dynamic version of Van Jefferson, running deeper routes, lifting the lid off the defense with the ability to be used on design plays and runs behind the line of scrimmage. Tyler Higbee is still involved, but is the clear 3rd or 4th target most weeks. But the main question was, can Nacua and Kupp coexist together as fantasy wide receiver 1 options in the same offense? Well, much like Kupp and Robert Woods did years ago, the answer right now is a resounding yes. Since week 1, when we were surprised about Tyjae Spears seeing 50% of the routes and 54% of the snaps, we thought the workload disparity would normalize, as has been the case in the Tennessee backfield for the last half-decade with Derrick Henry. That hasn't been the case, and in fact, Spears is taking more and more situational work from Henry. In week 5, Spears took all the long down and distance snaps, all of the 2-minute snaps, and most of the short down and distance snaps, and in a trailing script in week 5, Spears saw much more of the field than Henry did. Tennessee even gave Spears a nifty run on a reverse that got him loose for a 19-yard touchdown. Spears is currently 4th in the NFL in rush over expected percentage, which measures how consistently a running back is getting rushing yards over expected. Are we seeing the demise of Derrick Henry? Don't know if I go that far, but Tennessee is finding multiple ways to get Spears on the field, and now he's infiltrating Henry's workload, as Henry failed to hit 70% of the rushing attempts for the first time this season in week 5. For a team looking for a spark offensively from anybody that they can find, Spears is giving them that spark as the Titans are willing to deploy him in a number of ways. Henry certainly has viability as a RB2 in fantasy, but besides his game against Cincinnati in week 4 where he had 122 yards and a touchdown, he's only averaged 3.1 yards per carry in the other games this season. All of that said, Spears is starting to become a pretty viable flex play for fantasy managers now that we're getting into the thick of the bye weeks, and Spears does carry some immense contingent upside should the wheels come off fully for the big dog Derrick Henry in his final contract year. It behooves the Titans to see what they have in Spears this season after using a day 2 pick on him this past April. Like many other people, the move from Minnesota to Carolina for Adam Thielen was thought to represent an offensive environment shift that would hasten his drop-off from long-time fantasy asset to a declining asset with sporadic usage. It turns out that definitely isn't the case through 5 weeks. All Thielen has done through the first 5 weeks of the 2023 season on a per-game basis is average 9.5 targets, 8 receptions, and 79 receiving yards. That's good enough for 19.6 fantasy points per game in PPR, which is wide receiver 10. Thielen's been playing in the slot this season more than he ever has, with 71.6 of his snaps coming from the slot. We've seen older players who have earned a lot of targets in their career jump into the slot, like a Larry Fitzgerald or Hines Ward, and rejuvenate their careers. Thielen was one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL last season, with 90-plus targets, When looking at his 1.06 yards per route run, he's almost double that with a 1.89 yards per route run. If the thesis for Bryce Young as quarterback of this offense is that he's throwing short and continues to struggle to get the ball downfield as he has through 4 games, then those short area targets will be there for Thielen. The main concerns are that Bryce Young has the worst PFF passing grade among quarterbacks with 90-plus dropbacks and has the second lowest ADOT among those quarterbacks as well. The Panthers have also made it known in the media that they're actively looking for a number 1 wide receiver. Does that mean they're going to acquire somebody right away? I mean, that's clearly a concern, but if you need the production of Thielen for your fantasy teams, you can probably afford to wait a little bit to get your production and ride this wave. If you have elite wide receivers or better flex options that you can play over Thielen weekly, you can absolutely sell high on him right now to get a solid returner and at least an improvement coupled with one of your pieces. Still, Thielen's reemergence has been one of the bigger stories of the young 2023 season so far for fantasy football.